What's going on? Guess what? Today we're finally going to be finishing up the 68 Nova seats. It's been a long time coming. This coronavirus has really kicked us in the tail. We didn't expect to have the issues that we had. Supplies were really tough to get. They're still a little tough to get. Things got a little crazy. Anybody who saw the video the first time, or one of the Nova video, you got to see me go to unveil the packages and we realized, uh-oh, all the seats were wrong. So now we have the right parts, all the right materials, the right foam, everything in here so we could do it. It's kind of funny because, you know, we've worked on a few real shows with like television shows and stuff like that, and one of the premises that always falls into play is you have to have everything set up. All your materials have to be there. You have to have everything scheduled to do everything that needs to be done in one fluid motion so you could film it and get it out and do everything. When you start putting into the real life factors, it doesn't work that easy. So we actually had started a bunch of videos, and it's like every one except for the smaller videos gets some sort of hiccup. This one here, obviously the parts were wrong. We did finally get the right parts in. Thank you to Dave, the owner, who actually saved me a lot. I've been on the phone constantly, like calling and emailing and just, you know, checking shipments and ordering products, and it's just overwhelming. And he was able to take the time out of his day and actually go ahead and spend a lot of time getting a hold of the company to get this foam and get it shipped directly to us, which is great. I was worried because a lot of our overnight stuff, it's been taking a long time, but we got this in 2 days, which was really good. Although 2 days from 20 minutes down the road, but we did get it. Then also you'll see, which actually is kind of going to segue into the next video, is we started our 69 Chevelle interior. We're going to finish up the front seats on this. I have a lot to talk about the front seats on the, well, actually about all the installation of these kits. So we'll go over the front seats, I'll talk about that. And if you want to see the back seat installation or a back seat installation, check out our 69 Chevelle video. We actually, if you look back there, we had to get these seats done. We were getting in a panic, felt we just couldn't take any time because we had so much work to get done. We got those done while we're waiting on the parts to come in for the front seats. Things got a little crazy and a little scattered, but I feel I have to finish the videos that we started. If you want to watch how to do the rear seat, check out the 69 Chevelle video. That one there, we had another hiccup because Bill, who was doing the restoration, had some issues and had to pull the plug on the car. So we were gonna cancel the interior, but we decided, you know what? We're gonna finish it up for him, put it aside. When he gets his car ready, the interior will be done and ready to rock and roll. But this way we can finish up our videos. It's very important to finish what you started. So here we go. Let's get these started. I'm Eddie Barrett. Thank you for watching Atomic Autoworks. Let's get building a 68 Nova front seat set. Make sure it's centered. It actually, you center it on the actual pattern from the base. And trim this edge. A lot of times on these you get like a hard from the molding of the foam. So I'll just trim that lightly so that's out of there. That will show through. Now if these were original material, you'd have that scrim cloth material that you'd actually pull over and you glue it all down here, and that pulls this in nice. It folds this edge over. And it gives it a little easier look to do. So now we have this lined up. I'm going to go and zap some hog rings through the springs into the foam. With it being glued there, you probably don't need to. I am going to pull this bottom edge around here and hog ring it to this frame. It just makes it easier for the install for me. If we were doing this for originality, we would do it differently. And one thing I find is the listing wires that are in here actually extrude to the bottom. So I'm actually going to take those and bend those around so they don't poke into the bottom of the seat as well. Okay, when I'm doing the restoration for these, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll actually turn the material inside out and you roll it this way so that this material goes around the foam. The way that these foam cushions are set up, it's a lot more difficult to do it that way, but it's also a pain to roll this material around without ripping it. On this one, that's how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to get my edges exactly where I want them, make sure it's lined up so that I can put my hog rings in, and then I'm just going to go right to that redone listing. And always pull it to make sure you got it in there. That's still lined up good. Okay, so now we're going to start rolling this around very carefully, make sure our welting on that edge. I always want to roll it so the material doesn't. whenever we're heating up vinyl, we're using a heat gun, not a hair dryer, so they get really hot. The rule of thumb, if it's too hot for your hand, it's too hot for the seat, you always gotta watch what you're doing to pay attention. If the material starts to get shiny at all, back off immediately. So we got this nice and warm. I'm gonna go through, and on the back side here, we have a little tab here. We're gonna pull that up and hog it. This one has to go all the way up to these top hog rings. I marked my center point. I'm gonna take a center stitch and make sure that goes up there. So if you start from your center and work your way out, now when we put our cushions on, we'll mark that, and that will actually line up the cushion to the backrest so all the pleats and everything go together. Tight. I'm just gonna put our listing wire in here. Make sure your edges are always rolled over. If you put a sharp piece of metal in, even though some of the factory ones are sharp metal, you have the possibility of actually poking through and ripping something, cutting yourself, hurting yourself. This gives us a nice straight edge so the whole material will kind of pull itself up. You'll see me a lot of times telling people when you're pulling around corners, you use your whole side of your thumb or your whole side of your hand. You don't try to peel it, because if you pull it, you'll have like bumps. If you pull it like this, you'll have a nice edge with it. And that's kind of what the listing wire does too. We're gonna go through, I'm gonna hog ring all around here. One of the things that you wanna make sure you do is pull these down tight. You wanna work this all the way down so that your bottom actually folds over this bottom listing location. I've marked the center of the material in between the two French seams. Hog ring that to the center listing stanchion, and then make sure that both tabs that I screwed on are the same distance from the French seams to the edge of the tab. So everything's centered. Now I'm gonna start massaging this and pulling it down and heating it, and then putting all the hog ring on both sides. I'm gonna cut out where my push button goes to release the locking mechanism for the seat. I want to tighten these up a little bit so the cover sits a little better. Now I'm gonna cut out where the push button goes. Always in vinyl, cut the holes a lot smaller. You should actually use scissors, not razor blades, because razor blades you could slip and cause a lot of damage. But do as I say, not as I do. Brand new push button, make sure it works first. Okay, that time it works. Force again, that time it works. Okay, we're good to go. Now we're gonna put the backrest on, or back cover on. Make sure it's nice and tight. Nice tight. That lined up perfect. This brand new, brand new, brand new. What do we do when it's brand new? Okay, so I got the whole seat together, the push button in. Don came over to just rub it in my face that he keeps winning lottery every day.
I hit on this one.
Did you really? What'd you get?
I don't know. I didn't scratch it off yet.
Oh, come on. You got to do it on the camera.
Yeah.
He's won like 500, 500, 500, 500, 150, 500. And then scratch it. Come on.
$50.
And now we just won $50. Okay, so the seat cover's together, or backrest is on. These are a bear to get in and line up and make sure that they function. Clean her up. You see there's some wrinkles still from being folded up for so long in the box. We heated it, stretched it. We're gonna let it relax a little bit. Now I just went through and repaired a lot of the springs. I used a heavier grade spring just because a lot of the back part of the seat was rusted out. I figured a little extra support is better. Now you'll see I actually went through and put webbing on here as well. Webbing doesn't look pretty and it's not original. On a repair like this, I find it is actually the best fit. What it allows me to do is not overstretch the webbing. You can still intertwine it on here, but you're able to keep that softness that these seats have, but we're also adding to the integrity of the seat. So whenever we bring our seat springs together, we'll use Baker clip. And even though I've never had one fail, they still sketch me out. Look, I grabbed one and it's actually broken in the bottom. But anyways, it's just a little Baker clip. I showed these in other videos. And you use them for putting two pieces of spring together. So you just put them in the tools, you squeeze them and it goes around there. You can see them in the factory ones. So they're just a way to hold together. Now, what I end up doing is I'll put the webbing across it. We're gonna interweave the webbing through each other. And then I'm going to actually hog ring the webbing on both sides of the Baker clips and around it. This way I don't have to worry about the springs putting too much pressure on them. Before I repair the metal on this seat frame and all the springs and everything, I wanted to show people, because I know a lot of people get confused when they see foam for these and it says listing foam or non-listing foam. When a non-listing foam is more of a factory style seat. And a seat frame that's in good shape, you'll have these metal rods that come through here. that goes straight up on both sides. You would take your foam and actually hog ring all the way through the foam into this wire. So that will give you a little bit more of a pronounced bolster and side. It has a little bit of a better look. However, when you have seats that are like this, where these were the good ones, you know, so they're garbage. The other seat that we already repaired didn't have them in there. It was rusted pretty bad, so we repaired all the springs and put new burlap and webbing on it. And the reason why we'll like glue these and hog ring this down to the burlap is because we want to keep this foam down so we still get a pronounced bolster. It's not that big of a deal because when you really look at it, this metal is literally at the bottom base of this seat. So we're gonna go through and hog ring through the springs into that base or into that listing wire so you still get a bolster. And when you're done, it will still look like a really nice seat. The seat cover here, when you look at these listings, so you got your listing wire there. When you look at your factory seat cover, it has these listing here. So you actually tuck those in there and that's where you hog ring to. This embossed welt is not supposed to be in here. This is an error, so we're gonna fix that. I'm gonna trim that out and then re-stitch it because it's going through the threads that hold the welting. Or actually, there is welting on here. I'll fix that. I just went around and put metal listing in all of the channel here. The bottom's hog ring, so I'm just keeping this nice and warm right now to make sure that we could work out any wrinkles. A lot of times with these seats, you'll end up getting puckers up here. So you'll see us add like a soap foam or batting or something like that. I don't like batting because it's inconsistent. I use soap foam or a soft foam to bolster this up and that'll get rid of the wrinkles. This one, the foam actually fit pretty well. The covers fit great. And the only reason I'm trying to warm it is just, again, there's been some stuff in here just from sitting in a box. Okay, so now I'm putting the backrest and cushion back together. Forcing it in, you always want to get your bolts in a bunch of turns by hand first. I normally work on a table that's carpeted, but for the video, I'm actually working on a regular bench. You can see down here, I'm just gonna try to heat this up and just try to get some of the wrinkles out. Hog ring this, and notice my mood has slightly changed. I just got a call in the middle of this that my dad's back in the hospital and they have to do open heart surgery on him. Just got off the phone, we're talking with him. Always makes you wonder where the heck the time goes by. Where does the time go? Hog ring in the bottom stuff together. That's that. I gotta spin it because I haven't seen this. I'm using my manual hog ring pliers right now just because I kind of don't feel like going upstairs to grab more hog rings. And we're almost done with the seat. Let's see if we got, okay, now you look. Even though we centered everything, the lines aren't lining up, so we're gonna massage the seat cover over. Some foam under this back panel. Okay, so with a little persuasion, we're getting this thing lined up there. We moved that over about 1/8 of an inch, which was what we needed, but it was a little bit of a challenge. You guys showed in the earlier video, these little tabs that come off, that's what the top of these hook into. Give her a final inspection. Okay, so we're just going through and cleaning them up. Make sure there's no glues or anything on here. You can see it's actually a nice looking seat. This is just a cleaner. So basically these are just a kit that you would get from, actually, I wanted to see who made this kit, and it actually is from PUI. Let me flip that around. I thought it was, but it's a nice kit. The material was a little bit thicker than some other stuff that we've used.